We don't know when this pandemic will end. Come, I teach you to make chapati or Indian soft bread and its sauce that you can enjoy at home. My chapati is very soft because I've added plain flour. The chapati sold by the Indians, they only use atta flour or chapati flour. Atta flour I've already introduced to you in my side protein mix. Actually, atta flour and plain flour are both from the same wheat. Plain flour has been refined extensively by the removal of the bran, which is the outer husk or skin, and the inner and most nutritious jam. What is left is the endosperm, the starchy part. Whereas atta flour retains the whole wheat, hence it is least refined. Color-wise, plain flour is whitish, but the atta is slightly brown. Nutrition-wise, atta ranks higher, but we should take both in order to have a balanced diet. Another criterion for a soft chapati is the use of hot water. The oil and the water are sprinkled onto the flour and not on the same spot. Let me demonstrate to you later. Now let's make chapati. This is atta flour. On this side is the plain flour. This atta flour is 130 grams. Plain flour is only 3 heapful tablespoons. Here is 1 teaspoon of sugar and 1 teaspoon of salt. We need to combine everything. Then I add in the 5 tablespoons of cooking oil by distributing it all over the flour and not on the same place. By so doing, the oil and later the water too will be mixed with the flour better. If you want a tastier chapati, then use the Indian ghee. The tablespoon that I mentioned here is the metal spoon that we use for meals. Now I'm adding in the 9 tablespoons of hot water like I did for the oil. One reminder here, when you use this recipe, try to start off with 8 tablespoons first. Then you need the flour and you see if you need any extra. When the flour is too dry, then you add spoon by spoon the hot water. Different brands of flour may need different amount of water. So there's no hard and fast rule regarding the amount of water to be used. Always try and error. Start off with 8 tablespoons to be on the safe side. The bottom line is, do not use too much water straight away, because what is done cannot be undone. Now I'm going to mix the flour, water and oil by using my fingers first. Please watch carefully how to reach a desirable dough. I will walk you through the process. I will not edit anything here. It's only 4 minutes roughly. After a minute or two, you feel that there's no more dry flour and it looks like breadcrumbs. Now you can try to bring the flour together by pressing and squeezing it like I do. Just try to bring the flour all together to become a big lump. You notice that some flour are still stuck to my fingers. The bowl is not clean yet. There are still bits and pieces of the dough in the bowl. So it's not ready yet. The so-called golden rules of kneading says that the bowl must be clean, the hands must be clean, and the dough must be clean and smooth. As a matter of fact, the flour is still a little bit dry, so I will have to add 1 more tablespoon of hot water to it. Then I continue to knead it. The kneading is the pressing and the squeezing. That is part of kneading. You can do it on a countertop also. As you can see, the dough is rather coherent. That means it's coming together ready, and you'll need just a little bit more time before the dough is a nice dough, the bowl is clean, and there's no more flour stuck to my fingers. It's almost there now. Now my fingers are quite clean, and so is the bowl. The dough is forming into a big lump. The golden rules of kneading flour has appeared. We can stop and hop over to another stage. Bring the dough onto a countertop and then roll it into a nice smooth log. Divide it into 5 smaller portions that will fit into your frying pan when you roll it into a disc. If your frying pan is big, then you may divide the dough into 4. Otherwise, divide into 6. Now I smoothen out the smaller portions into nice balls. I apply some oil onto the countertop, then I bring one ball, flatten it with my palm, and then I roll it out with a rolling pin. At this moment, the shape of the sheet doesn't matter. Whether you can get it a perfect circle or not, it doesn't matter. Just try to roll it out into a thin sheet. Again, we have to apply some oil on the surface of the sheet. Roll the sheet up from one end to the other end. Try to trap as much air in the dough as possible. Finish it up by curling the end of the dough to form a coil. This is also to trap as much air in the dough as possible. Lastly, pinch the dough together so that they are in one piece. I leave them on the table and have a bowl covered to rest for 1 hour. You can also keep them in a bowl and have a damp cloth over it. The resting time is 1 hour. When the 1 hour is up, we go to the next process. Now this time, the table need not be oiled. Just use a rolling pin and try to roll it into a nice disc. This step takes practice, and try not to press the dough too much, or the chapati later will not be crispy because you have a lot of air removed. If you see any part opens up, don't worry, just pinch and try to join the dough back. We as amateur, we try to do as what we can. We are not professionals. Enjoy and have fun. Remember that practice makes perfect. Now you need to preheat the frying pan. Then turn the heat low just to maintain the heat. Put the rolled out chapati in it and turn it every now and then so that the chapati is evenly cooked. Shortly after that, you need to crank up the heat. Use a medium heat. Now you will notice air bubbles or air pockets appearing on the surface. When the air pockets increase in number and size, it's time to turn the chapati over. The other side will have air pockets too. Fry the chapati to the desired color and then place it in a plate. Cover it with a cloth and it will stay soft for a few hours. The next itinerary is the cooking of the Dalca. Oh yeah, I forgot to mention that we need not oil the frying pan to fry this chapati. It's oil free. Isn't it wonderful? Now we can do our own chapati at home. Let's give a thumbs up to this chapati. Isn't it beautiful? This is my dalca. It is the dilute one. If you want it concentrated, you need to reduce the water and you cook the dal a little longer. And if you want it spicy, you add a few dried chillies or 1 tablespoon of curry powder. These are the ingredients I use for my dalca. Of course, you can have your own vegetables like cabbage, celery, tomatoes, long beans, eggplants. Now this main one is this split pea or dhal. I have it washed and soaked for 1 hour. You may soak it overnight. This is moringa leaves. I highly recommend this moringa leaves. It's nutritious and it's very delicious. Other usual condiments are like the red carrots, the potatoes, red big onions, and I also have 1 piece of this ginger, just a small piece of ginger, and I also use this tumeric. You can use a fresh one. And 1 cinnamon sticks. We also have salt, pepper and sugar. Like I say, if you want it spicy, you can add your dried chili or the curry powder. This dalca you can go with chapati, roti canai or bread. See, I've already washed and cut the vegetables. Let's start cooking. Boil a pot of water. I use 1.5 liter. You can reduce it to 1 liter. And in another frying pan, I heat up 1 tablespoon of oil. Then I add the onions. The oil need not be very hot. You saute the onions a little bit and then you add in the ginger and the cinnamon sticks. Saute them until they release the fragrance. If you want to shorten the cooking time for the dal, I suggest that you fry the dal now just to soften it a little bit more. Otherwise, the cooking time later will be very long. We know split peas are quite hard to cook. We can stop this when the water is boiling. Okay, now we can transfer the dal and the onions into this pot of boiling water. We lower the flame, have it covered and then cook for maybe 30 minutes to 1 hour if you have the time. As I say, this dal takes a long time to cook. After at least half an hour, you may add in the potato and the carrot cubes. And these two also needs time to cook and get softened. Now you may add in 1 teaspoon of salt and 1 teaspoon of sugar. And I add in 1 heapful tablespoon of tumeric. Why do I use so much of tumeric? Well, I want to follow my mother-in-law's way of cooking. She uses a lot of turmeric. She lived until 100 years old. She's super healthy. She doesn't have hypertension, diabetes, her hearing and her eyesight are so good. I want to emulate her. When the potatoes and carrots are soft, we can add in 1 teaspoon each of this pepper and a mushroom powder. Stir it and then test for the flavor. See if you still need salt or sugar. When everything is okay, we can add in the moringa leaves. After adding the moringa leaves, stir it a few times, then turn off the flame and the dalca is done. Don't cover the pot because it's going to make the moringa leaves yellow.